The Out of Bounds Show is powered by the award-winning golf courses at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club in Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Man, has that line moved in the LSU-Auburn game? Why did I not take it on Sunday when Auburn was a favorite? Holy smokes. Blake, what'd you tell me? It went from -1.5 Auburn to 9 LSU?
That's where it sits currently.
Goodness gracious. Holy smokes, there was money to be made, and I missed. Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, brought to you by Sound and Communications. SoundcomAV.com, the leader in audio and visual in the Southeast. SoundcomAV.com. We welcome in our friend Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans, Saints, LSU, NFL, college football. Mike D joins us on the Yuengling Lager guest line. Mike D, I feel like I missed out on some money not taking that bet on Sunday. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you like a lot of them. We saw it sort of change a little bit. We did the show yesterday from out in Silver Slipper and Casino, and we saw it sort of change real quickly and sort of line flip. Where I don't know who would have put Auburn favorite in that game, but I knew that wasn't going to last long. But I wasn't able to get in on that Auburn favorite, and man, it has rapidly changed. So, I think that tells you a lot more about Auburn than what it tells you about LSU.
Yes. All right, so the Tigers are trending the right way. And I'm sorry, LSU Tigers, not Auburn. And Auburn got really, really lucky in both regulation and overtime, as we all know, on Saturday. Do you expect LSU to blow them out this weekend on the Plains?
I made this comment last night. I thought LSU would win by 10. I really do. LSU's defense is really playing well, really, really playing well. Now, listen, New Mexico is not very good. They got 2 first downs in a game. 2. That was their total offense. Again, LSU's offense is still coming together and being pieced together. But their defense is going to hang them in games. This isn't the real test for LSU. It's the following week when they stare down at Tennessee. That's the major test for LSU. But offensively, with the weapons they have, and getting Booty back, who didn't play last week, he had the week off with his girlfriend having their first child. And they were missing a couple of pieces here and there. And so it'd be interesting to see. Now, the one thing with LSU, they are really thin. They got talent across the board. The last 3 years, they have finished 4th, 3rd, and 3rd in recruiting before Brian Kelly got there. There's a reason. But they've also had some heavy attrition. Is that if they can stay healthy, they'll be okay, but they're awfully thin at certain spots.
Okay. So you feel like 2 possessions, 2-score game, LSU on the Plains. Mike Detillier on the Yuengling Lager guest line. You're listening Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. What do you make of? I know it was a gift Arkansas gave A&M there on the 1-yard line. But what was your takeaway from Arkansas A&M this weekend, Mike?
I wasn't impressed with A&M 2 weeks ago playing Miami, and that told me a lot more about Miami than I needed to know. And then Miami did exactly what I thought they would. They spit the bit this past weekend. I'm not impressed with A&M offensively at all. Now they got some talent on defense. They've got it stacked there, but a win is a win any way you can take it. That is a crazy way to win it the way they did, but I'm not impressed at all offensively with A&M. And listen, I think a lot of Max Johnson as a guy. He's a tough kid, but he's limited on throws. So they're going to have to beat you with the running game, with their defense, and coming up with turnovers. But they're no crackerjack team by any chance. With Arkansas, man, you sort of disappointed because they let a game that they had in hand slip away. They really did. And that's a learning experience for a team that being in a big spot like this, and they had them. They really did. And you can't give away the ball game. You can't. Because I think player for player, A&M's got more talent than Arkansas, but you can see the structure is there for the Hogs. It really is. But you can't give away a game, and that's basically what they did. The game wasn't lost on the field goal. It really wasn't. It was lost on the fumble.
Yeah. Going to Bama at Arkansas at 17 points, Mike. Would you take them or give them?
I would go with Alabama. I'll be honest with you. I think Alabama can put up some points. And, man, they play great defense. I know in talking to Pete Jenkins, who worked with them along the defensive line, he said, Mike, this might be as good a defensive line as I've worked with at Alabama. Now, Pete has also worked with Georgia's defensive front. That was his deal, man. That one's going to be tough to overmatch of a year ago. But he was really impressed what Alabama's got up front in their front seven. So, again, I think with Alabama, it's consistency at the receiving corps. They've got talent, a lot of young talent, and they've kind of rode the roller coaster with making a catch, making a big play. But, man, Young he's the real McCoy. Archie Manning told me this at Manning camp. Bryce came, and he was like, take a good look at him. He said, does he remind you of Fran Tarkenton? He said, that's who Bryce Young reminds me of. And I've repeated that because, Archie said it first, that he reminds me. He said, if you say that on the radio, some people have to go look at Wikipedia to figure out who Fran Tarkenton is. But he said, for football fans, they know who Fran is. And he said, that's who Bryce Young reminds me of. And I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right.
Boy, what a player. With Tennessee, are you buying the Tennessee Volunteers, or do you need to see more?
I am. We had Hooker there too, Hendon Hooker, and I was so impressed with him. Not only as a passer, but just his demeanor, how he handled things. He was very upfront. We have a chance to interview the guys for about an hour on the Friday. And he was one of the guys I wanted to talk to because I could tell his maturity, and I watched him throw the football, and, man, he's no small guy. I mean, he's a lot bigger in person than you might think he is. So one of the things he brought up to me, and I talked to him about, maturing into the quarterback position, and he said, when I was a pretty highly recruited quarterback, I signed on with Virginia Tech. I did get some chances to start at Tech. I don't know if he said 12 or 13 games, something in that range. And he said, I found out real quickly that this is a production business, and you got to win. And he said, my job at Tennessee is, one, I got to be a leader. He said that's number one on the spot. When you are a quarterback, you have to be a leader. And secondly, I got to win. He said that's the second thing, because they don't want to hear about your personal life, if you got a little ache and a pain, if you bruised up, if somebody drops a pass, somebody fumbles the ball. It's about winning. And he said, you know what? Last year was the starting point for us at Tennessee. This year we make our statement.
Mm.
And I thought he was so mature. This is a 22-year-old saying this about handling the quarterback spot. This is not a 32-year-old man. It's a 22-year-old young man saying this, of understanding the pressures of playing quarterback at a big-time school. And he knew that he got some talent around him. And he sort of laid it out to me that there are certain games that we got to win to convince everyone that we back. And he said, I think we'll be a lot better on defense than a lot of people are giving us credit for. And I think he hit the nail on the head with it. And Florida was explosive, and they can score points. They still trying to figure out how to handle Hooker.
Yeah.
Because he was magnificent in that game.
He was.
Really was. In every aspect. But, Bo, I'm telling you, I don't know. I've done this a lot of Manning camps, okay? As I've heard a more mature guy, as I've heard with Hooker, the way he spoke and the way he sort of understands the game in a certain way, that's not just the norm. I'll be honest. I mean, you got some of them you interview, you wonder, man, how'd you get this far? You know they're talented. You know they got talent, but their maturity level is not real good. Even at that stage, he showed it. Man, he has great maturity, understands the game, is a leader, a tough guy, and he does not mind being the focal point of somebody's negativity. Because he said that is part of me playing quarterback.
Mm.
And he said, I would much rather take the negativity than have it on my teammates. And I walked away from there and said, Jesus Christ, you don't hear that often. You really don't. And so I think he's the key there. But, they've gotten better, certainly on defense, and they can flow to the football. And he ended it with, I said, man, you got so many guys that are from Tennessee on the Saints team. I said, man, we're almost becoming sort of like, Volunteer South. And he's like, well, my total concentration this year is on Tennessee and winning and trying to get us to the SEC championship game and maybe an SEC title. But he said, man, that I do notice that they got a lot of those guys out there in New Orleans. How about that? Who that? And I looked at him, I was like, okay, we're going to end the interview. Because it was really good, and when he threw that who dat out there, I was like, okay. But that about sealed the deal.
Wow. So you're buying Tennessee.
Yep.
Who is the second best team in the league right now? Is it Bama or Tennessee behind Georgia?
Oh, I would say Alabama is, but I think it's clear-cut that Tennessee's the 3. I think, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee right now. And I think it's pretty clear-cut.
And the fact that Bama has to go to Tennessee, you give the Volunteers a shot?
I give them a shot. I wouldn't pick them to win it, but I'll give them a shot there. I think what's going to be an interesting game is them playing LSU at 11 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I don't know what genius decided to pass on LSU Tennessee for a 3 o'clock game on the Saturday, which happened yesterday. CBS passed on it to go with Georgia Auburn.
Yeah. Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN.
Now, whoever made that choice, that wasn't a good one. Because I think for most people, okay, you understand how good Georgia is.
Right.
And you understand, after watching what you watched the past couple of weeks, Auburn isn't real good. LSU Tennessee would have been an interesting mid-afternoon game. Really would have been. Because now you had a very explosive Tennessee team playing against an LSU team who's pretty doggone good on defense.
Back to LSU. No, I actually want to ask this question about the Manning Passing Academy. Who were the best 3 quarterbacks at the Manning Passing Academy in the summer?
This summer?
Yes.
Will Levis would have been right off the bat. He was the best. He was the most impressive guy I saw there.
Over Bryce Young?
I would put Bryce at the 2 spot. But Will, man, his deep ball skills were really good. That's not what Bryce does best. Bryce is really good in the short intermediate part of the game. I would put him as a good deep ball thrower, but Will's a next level guy. Will, when I saw him for the first time, he's not as thick, but he reminded me so much of Josh Young. Because we watching him throw, and I was in the back seat of the golf cart, and Archie was in the front. And I told him, I said, you know what, I've seen that guy before. And he said, Levis? I said, yeah. He said, I told him, I said, he reminds me of Josh Allen. And he said, he's sure built like him, isn't he? I said, he's not as thick. And he said, my God, was Josh thicker than him? I said, I think he was. Josh told me that day he was 243 pounds.
Good grief.
Wow. Will's not 243 pounds. I'm going to say Will's in that 225 to 230 range. He doesn't look it, but man, that ball came out of his arm or the hand, and it's similar to Josh in a lot of ways. Bryce would be the 2, and then certainly Thompson from Florida was the 3. He wasn't the most consistent of the passers. Bryce and Will were much more consistent. But, partner, when he threw a football downfield, you could hear it. I mean, you don't see it often, but you could hear it coming out of there. It sounded like something had been shot out of a cannon. And those receivers were bracing to catch every throw because, man, they were coming at you. So what that told me a little bit was he was still developing some touch and some accuracy, but he is a big, tall guy who can hum it. And then I would put Hooker at the 4 spot. I'm not necessarily giving him an A on everything across the board, but I would have difficulty giving him anything less than a high B+ on everything. He did everything really well. And so, while he wasn't maybe as physically imposing as Will or Thompson, you could tell, he's a legitimate 6'4", and he's so accurate making those throws. And here's the best part. They doing this with receivers they've never thrown to before. Those receivers out there are not guys from their school. It's from LSU, Tulane, Nicholls State, Southeastern. We had some from Southern Miss, Southern University. So they've never worked with those guys. And that's what's the most impressive part about it. That they were Bryce, you know, I saw him throw about 30 passes. Only one of them touched the ground. Everything the receiver had, he had one bad throw in his session of 30 throws. He had one bad throw, and it sort of reminded me when you go to the Saints camp when Drew was there. The ball didn't touch the ground. He was. If it touched the ground, it's because they dropped it, and that's what happened with Bryce. It was a drop pass by a Southeastern Lion receiver. He hit him dead in the numbers. He just dropped it. So those would be the four. And, you know, there's not a lot of times I could say the four guys that were the most impressive were all from the SEC.
Wow.
Yeah, because I
got 1 minute, Mike. Levis.
The little write-up. That's normally not the case. Normally that's somebody else.
Right. Levis and Kentucky go to Oxford Saturday. Who do you like and why?
I think Kentucky. Their defense is really good, and Will. He's going to make some plays. Ole Miss has been way too inconsistent on offense. And Levis is going to hit you to pressure points all across the board as a runner and a passer. I like Kentucky. I think Ole Miss will keep it close. I think it'll be a close game, but I like the Wildcats here.
All right, we'll leave it there. Saints play in London at 8:30, I think, in the morning.
Yeah, we got 4:30 a.m. pregame shows. 4:30 in the morning.
Mike.
So I got to wake up A-Bear to make sure he's going to get
Mike Detillier on the Yuengling Lager guest line. Have a good week, Mike. Thanks, bud.
Thank you both.
Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joined us on the Yuengling Lager guest line. That was funny. Yuengling Lager, one of the official beers of the Out of Bounds show. You can make it your game day beer. Enjoy a Yuengling Lager late this afternoon. Please drink responsibly. And Mike likes LSU by 10 and Kentucky to, I guess, squeak one out in Oxford with Will Levis, and maybe that stingy Kentucky defense. Can they contain Judkins and Evans and Jackson Dart? We'll see. 11 a.m. kick. You know, you and I like the 11 a.m. kicks, Blake. A lot of people don't. But now I understand if you have to travel up the day of or if you're hosting your tailgate. That's not awesome. I kind of like it.
Well, there's the mistake. Don't host your tailgate.
Yeah, I'm with you. Live in the Bank Plus studio, the Out of Bounds show is driven by your next Ram truck, Jeep Grand Cherokee, Mac Hike in Flowood. Visit MacHikeFlowwood.com. Todd Wade, former Ole Miss Rebel, at 9:30.